Now, an organisation representing all smelters in the country operating in the Ferro Alloys industry believes they have a solution to the challenges currently faced by Eskom. Chabisi Motloung from the Ferro Alloy Producers Association joins me now. Thanks so much for your time on Point this afternoon. So give us some context into what you believe the issue is and how you believe it can be fixed.
Good afternoon to our viewers at home. We as the Ferro Alloy producers of South Africa, we feel we have a responsibility to be part of the solution and not be in a situation where we're bashing Eskom all the time. Eskom is in a difficult position and it needs the private sector and the labor to assist. And where we see a long-hanging fruit in terms of the Eskom situation is that what's cranking up the cost of electricity production in the first place is the use of the diesel streams, which is the open gas turbines. And the only way to reduce the consumption of the diesel or the usage of the OCGTs is for us as industry to come in and say, when Eskom needs power, we can prevent them from going in, tapping into that emergency reservoir of using the diesel and use us as industry to reduce the load. Now, we as industry, we are on our own also in distress. Eskom is in distress and government is in distress. But the three, including labor, very importantly these days, it's very important to include the labor. The four, there are existing synergies where the four parties can get together, the stakeholders can get together and fix the problem. The problem is really that Eskom power stations, especially the old fleet, is having a lot of trips and struggling a lot, and as a result we're having load shedding and blackouts. Now the strategy is you cannot just switch off a power station for a day or two. You need to take out an entire unit for a prolonged period of time, do proper maintenance. Now we want to participate to say when Eskom requires to take out units, we as industry will drop our load equally so, allow them enough time to do the maintenance, and when the one unit is completed, we can go up in load. And so we'll tackle the rest of the old fleet. Now, what exacerbates the problem is that the new fleet, which is the Kusile and Medupi, which was supposed to be part of the solution, unfortunately comes with some teething problems, and it also comes with some design issues, which Eskom is addressing. But in the meantime, when we have a shortage of power, we as industry need to come in and drop. Just to put it in perspective, if you're running the diesel streams, it costs 3,500 per megawatt to produce electricity. When you're using the normal fleet power stations, it costs less than 1,000 rands a megawatt. Now we're saying as industry, we can reduce the consumption of diesel, and Eskom is looking at over 10 billion for the year, just on diesel alone, and that cost could have been less.
So you have this idea, and you've also said in a release that you've sent us that you have spoken with government and unions about this. What was their response?
Eskom, we've walked a long path with Eskom, and Eskom has been engaging with us, and they unfortunately also have principals, which is the stakeholder, which is government. And it's a question of whether there is a political will to actually be part of the solution. I think we as a country are at fault. We took a position to say, keep the lights on at all costs. And it's only now that we realize that was the wrong decision. You have a system operator at Eskom who's the only guy that must have the power and authority to switch to start load shedding or not to load shed. But in hindsight, we realize now that we should have been load shedding. It sounds bad to say that, because from an investor point of view, the government, it was coming from a good place to say keep the lights on at all costs, because you're looking at investor confidence and things like that. But if the system operator needs power, something could have been done then to avoid an eventuality now that we ended up sitting with a stage 6. You'd rather have now and then a stage 1 and 2 and then have a total country sit with
or we could
6.
have Eskom doing what they're supposed to be doing and ensuring that South Africans have lights and power to go about their business, to go about doing what they need to do.
It's exactly that. We as a country needed to be part of the solution, and what has happened with Eskom is that we as a country, we took a position that keep the lights on at all costs. All costs means run your diesel fleet, which costs you an arm and a leg. It costs a lot of money to run it. Than saying, industry, can you participate and avoid Eskom cranking up the cost and bleeding cash or burning cash literally by using the diesel fleet? When they don't burn cash, we as industry can come in and reduce the operating cost of Eskom.
Thank you so much for your time. Chabisi Motloung from the Ferro Alloys Producers Association joining me in studio to talk about possible solutions that industry feels they can offer to Eskom in this time of load shedding. I'll have a look at your African markets after the break. Do stay with us on Point.